They say winning ain't everything. Well, we don't have them type conversations over here, man. Had that conversation with the losers. We trying to win at everything we do. Even in the loss, we don't see defeat. We see a lesson learned. Straight up. Look, I came into this world in 1978. The doc looked me in my face and knew I was something great. 45, 42 Prescott, that's where I'm from. Grew up in the slums around dope dealers and bums. As humble as I was, I adapted to my habitat. In my own lane though, far from where they crashing at. Dumb bar graduate, the game I'd have mastered it. Served in the Navy, look, y'all don't know the half of it. Pops passed in '01, moms passed last year. I know they up in heaven smiling down, crying mad tears, cause they son making it. No telling where I'm taking it. My city been cursed, but I feel that I'm breaking it. Coached at Wayne High in 15 in one state. Seen the fork in the road and went straight. I know what I'm worth, I'm OG King CURT. Brooklyn Nets gaming crew legend, let's work.
Hey, this is OG King CURT, your host of the OG2CENTS podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you who tune in every Sunday. We truly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, and share. Also, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Helps us out a lot. Make sure you continue to speak out against all forms of social injustice and racism. And this episode is brought to you by Zenni Blocks. Zenni Blocks. Make sure to armor your eyes with Zenni Blocks virtual clear blue blockers. It's important to protect your eyes from the harmful blue light from your digital screens, so you'll have less eye strain, and that makes for better sleep and performance. Check them out at zenni.com/gaming or follow them at Zenni Gaming on Twitter and Instagram. This episode is episode 30, Getting to Know Narz. She's a gamer, content creator, speaker, and co-host of 368 NYC, Good Game Review with Holly Peppermint, and host of HyperX Good Game Reviews. She's the former host of Cheddar Esports. And I met Narz at Decoy Games Presents Game On, celebrating Black excellence in gaming, and Grassroots podcast Game Night with Nate Robinson. So with further ado, I want to bring to you Narz. How you doing today?
Good, doing really good.
Hey, I just admire what you do. I just want you to tell us your story and how you got to where you are today.
Wow. So it's a long story, but it's one that I think will be near and dear to a lot of people, especially those who are still trying to figure out their lives. So I've always loved video games. I've been playing since I was about 5 years old. My first console was a Sega Genesis. My first game was Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And since then, I've always wanted to be in gaming. I think I came across gaming, I guess how I was exposed to gaming is I have an older cousin. Her name is Clarissa. And she was playing Resident Evil at the time, Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation. She was also playing Tomb Raider. And I saw these two women in these virtual worlds. In Resident Evil 2, it was Claire Redfield, and Tomb Raider was Lara Croft. And these women were fighting against zombies and monsters. And I thought, wow, these women are so cool. They're kicking ass. They're shooting. They have like no fear. They're absolutely courageous. And I was just so inspired by that I fell in love with gaming. Now, I was too young to play Resident Evil or Lara Croft, so I got Sonic the Hedgehog instead. But I was just fascinated that there was an opportunity where people can explore a world beyond our own that was created by a genius mind or a game designer that I later found out. And it fascinated me. I wanted to know more about games. And so I had told myself that eventually I wanted to go to Japan and learn Japanese and do something in video games, or at least be an animator or a game designer. Unfortunately, I was supposed to go to a school in Bloomfield College. It was an accelerated video game program. At the time, I had a full scholarship, and then at the last minute, it was revoked. So I ended up having to figure out what to do, and I ended up going to Queens College. So woo CUNY, but they didn't have any video game program, so I ended up doing psychology, and I was beating myself up that I really wanted to do something in gaming. When I graduated, I was like, I really want to do something in gaming, but I don't know what. Like, I don't animate, I don't draw, I don't do anything. And so someone was just like, yeah, like psychology may be your plan A, but what's your plan B? And I was like, video games. It has to be video games. And they were like, well, find a way to meld what you know with what you love. And so I started writing about video game psychology. And I started out really simple, just writing on my own blog. I just got my own domain and I started writing about video game psychology. And a lot of the articles that I wrote were super heavy research, citations, references, talking about, theories and, behavior modification and behavioral theories and how gaming can make people better people or be able to augment their minds for self-actualization. And that fascinated me. So I started writing more. And as I was writing, I started getting noticed by different outlets. I got picked up by Game Tyrant at the time. I got picked up by Hip Hop Gamer. He had his own gaming website. By Fatality, who's a pro player. He had his own website. I got picked up by Game Skinny. And I started just writing about what I was in love with, which was video games, and what I was good at, which was psychology, for all these different outlets. And then at the time, I was like, video game writing is not necessarily very, you can't make much money with that. So it was at the time that Digital Trends was like, hey, we want to hire you. And I was just like, I don't want to write anymore. I want to do something more than just writing. So I took a step back and I said, I don't know what that is yet. I'll figure it out. So I decided to do social media at like advising or consultation. So I ended up doing social media management for 2 esports teams. One is called Onslaught Esports. The other one was Ronin HQ. And I didn't know anything about social media. I kind of just learned from different like certifications and classes. I put myself out there. I put myself into classes. Mind you, I was still having a full-time job, still doing the 9 to 5, but from the 9 to 5, I was working for somebody else, but then the 5 to 9, I was working for myself. I was bettering myself. I was pushing the limits. Sometimes I was even going to classes over the weekend because I really wanted to do something meaningful in gaming. I just didn't know what it was yet. I was still trying to figure it out. So I thought social media was what it was. And, after doing social media for Onslaught and Ronin HQ, I hit the big bucks, I guess you can say, and it ended up being the social media producer for the Mixer NYC studio. So Mixer NYC Studio was a studio at the Microsoft flagship store on 5th Avenue here in New York City, a beautiful studio on their 5th floor. And they were hiring people from an agency called The Gamer Agency, in which I was hired. And I managed all the social media that came out of that studio. And it was such an amazing time. I've met so many great content creators and so many great personalities and so many amazing minds, producers, writers, and I got to be able to produce and write and be a part of the ambiance behind the scenes. But looking at the people in front of the scene, I was like, that seems more fun. Like, I want to do that. Can I do that? And so, little by little, I realized that, okay, maybe I don't want to do social media, but I definitely do want to do something in gaming. And when I had lost my job at the Gamer Agency, it was shortly acquired and then shortly closed. I lost myself. For a whole month, I was very suicidal. I was very unstable. I thought, social media was my dream job. This is everything that I've ever wanted to do. And then having lost it after working my butt off, it was really hard. And I used streaming as a means to cope with my darkness. So I would talk to people, and through streaming, it became my therapy. And there was something that clicked. I was just like, oh my gosh, I love talking to people. I love being entertaining. I love making people happy. I love when people make me happy. And after that, it was just like everything that I had done had come into perspective. I needed to know how to be a producer on the back end. I needed to know how to be a social media manager on the back end, because that was going to be an aspect of my business as a content creator. So once I had streaming as something that I was absolutely gung-ho about, and it was like, this is it, this is what I want to do, everything started falling into place. I ended up working as Cheddar Esports as a host for about a year, and it was really interesting that all the producing that I had done for the NYC studio for Mixer had resurfaced as experiences, as skill sets that I needed in order to perform on Cheddar Esports. And then the social media aspect became paramount, because if you're a content creator, yes, being on Twitch or being on YouTube or being on Facebook is important, but your social credibility is just as important. You need to ensure that all the other accounts that revolve around what you're focusing on supplement it. Because how else are you going to get exposure if you're, not using and leveraging the other accounts that are absolutely free to your disposal? So all of that experience, and then being a writer for like 5 years had taught me how to be eloquent with my speech, how to be captivating and moving. And it was just preparing me for this moment where I wanted to make a difference as a Latina from New York, as, you know, a first generation from parents who were from Dominican Republic. I wanted to be a spokesperson for any woman, any Spanish speaking woman who loved games, that this was a possibility. This is a career option for you. And gaming is not necessarily something that's fruitless or that has no return on investment. It's absolutely the opposite. If you put yourself into gaming, if you are in love with gaming and you want to do something, you want to follow your dreams will evolve as you figure it out, but it's not impossible. And I think for me, that was a testimony kind of to my previous person, or my younger self who was 5 years old, where I wanted to do something in gaming. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't give up. I didn't give up no matter what anybody said, no matter who said, gaming is going to amount to nothing. You're never going to get a job in gaming. You're not even that funny, Narz. And it's like, that does not matter. It's the heart that matters. And I never gave up on that heart. And that's where I ended up right now here. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, you know, and that's the one reason why I do this show. I mean, it's a positive show, meant to, you know, inspire and motivate. And your story is definitely that. I mean, you know, I didn't even know a lot of things that you had accomplished, you know, prior to. So it definitely helped me. I always tell people, whatever you do, just don't quit. And obviously, you didn't do that. I mean. And then you started out independently. That's another big facet that I like, is that, you know, you took your passion and then people started to recognize it, and they want you to be a part of what they're doing. How did you get your name?
So surprisingly enough, obviously I have a big family. Spanish people have a very big family. So I have 2 sisters and a brother. And so when I was younger, it was just me and my other sister. And we used to watch Pinky and the Brain. And Pinky always says Narf, and Brain always is like, you know, antagonizing and such. So me and my sister would always role play that. So she was Brain and I was the doofy Pinky running around going Narf, Narf. And it was just something dynamic where I had this connection to Pinky, as funny as it is. But yes, Rob Paulson, he's the voice actor for Pinky. He's also the voice actor for Wacko. But a lot of my upbringing has to do with cable TV and the Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and Ren and Stimpy. And I just kind of like something about that character Pinky, where he was just so carefree, just so like you could easily be attracted to that kind of personality. Someone who was constantly, you know, effortlessly just giving a lot of positivity, and I emanated with that. And so I didn't like the idea of calling myself Narf because that would be a little weird. So Zeta is my favorite letter of the alphabet. It's just like, it looks like a little squiggly line, and I wanted to add that to my name, so I dropped the F from Narf, I added a Z, and that's where you get Narz. So gotcha. Phonetically it's supposed to be Narz, but I would destroy my throat if I kept saying that, like, welcome to the stream, this is Narz, trying to be able to hear. And we're going to be streaming such and such today. But yeah, so that's how Narz came out. It has nothing to do with the cosmetics, surprisingly enough. Everyone thinks it's cosmetics because I'm a glam gamer, and I know that's the terminology that a lot of people are like, what does that mean? It just means that I like wearing makeup. I feel like it's a form of expression, a form of art, simply because I wanted to be an artist and I have never been able to. So I use my face as my canvas. But yeah, it has nothing to do with Narz Cosmetics, surprisingly enough.
Well, you're a pretty good artist, I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
Describe your passion for gaming. So
this is really throughout, I guess, my career. It's actually really funny because for the longest time I thought of this as my hobby. But for the duration of my career, I have always saw gaming as an instrument, as a medium for us as human beings, us as people to become better. Whether that meant better skillfully at hand-eye coordination, or just to augment our brain to make us be able to feel things beyond, you know, this realm. I feel like gaming has been a medium to make that possible. And having studied psychology and having studied behavioral modifications and game theories, I believe that gaming has the fundamental foundation for us to transcend as human beings. And it's already talked about in Jane McGonigal, who's an amazing professor at the Institute of the Future in California. She talks about it in her book called Reality is Broken. And she talks about how every single games are designed for us to succeed. Unlike, politics, and unlike social structures and the government and education and our jobs, which constantly fails us, games allow us the opportunity to know exactly how to be able to get to our goals by giving us objectives. They give us a progress bar so we know if we're progressing with what we're doing. They give us feedback. They make us feel very certain about we're capable of doing a goal. And then once we meet those goals, we get so much reward. We get positive reinforcement. And in psychology, positive reinforcement is the bona fide way to ensure that we continually to progress as human beings, whether it's positive reinforcement for, either being rewarded internally or externally. Those are the components that make us better human beings. And I've been so grateful and thankful for HyperX to allow me to be able to explore all the positive aspects of gaming with Good Game, the show that I do, that I host on there. And there's just not enough good that's being talked about gaming. And I feel like there needs to be more good that needs to be talked about. There needs to be more psychological good that's spoken about. And I feel that passion for gaming is focused on that, focusing on the good in gaming and being able to explore it, to talk about it, and just heighten it and elevate it throughout the entire industry.
Agreed. I mean, obviously I come from the 2K community, and it's been, at times noted a toxic community, and that's where I try to bridge the gap and being something that's more positive and enlightened to our community. So I definitely can relate. What's some of your favorite video games?
Ooh, that's hard. What console, what era? I feel like that's the
First
hardest question.
thing that comes to mind. Yeah, I mean, because when you get to talking about Ren and Stimpy and everything like that, I was like, whoa, okay, I didn't know you went back that far. But okay.
Yes, surprisingly to my face, but I'm a lot older than I look. But yeah, oh gosh.
We'll go eras. I mean,
okay, fine. We'll go eras. Okay, so we'll start with Sega Genesis. Favorite game for Sega Genesis is probably Streets of Rage 2 and X-Men for the Sega Genesis. When it comes to, and like, I didn't have an NES or Super NES, unfortunately, so I'm just going to jump to the N64 and Dreamcast. So for the N64, it was Ocarina of Time, absolute Ocarina of Time, and then Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64. And then for the Dreamcast, it would be Power Stone and Shenmue. The first Shenmue, not the second or the third. The third is phonetically technically out, but not really. And then for PlayStation, it would have to be Final Fantasy 8 for me. And then for PlayStation 2, Ephemeral Fantasia. And then for, I guess for the I probably won't add like the GameCube. I didn't have a GameCube either, unfortunately, or a Sega Saturn. I really wanted a Sega Saturn, but I never got it. And obviously, Sega no longer became a hardware company after the Dreamcast. So I did ever had an Xbox, so I can't say Xbox, although I will give shout outs to Morrowind because that was a really good Xbox game, 1000%. And then for, I think for PlayStation 4, it would be Ghost of Tsushima. But I guess like that might change depending if Cyberpunk 2077 comes out this year or not. So.
Gotcha. What console you gonna stay with PlayStation for the next gen or?
Yeah, I probably will. I'm a little bit so. Even though I used to work for the Mixed NYC studio, I've never really had an affinity to Xbox. I never grew up on an Xbox. I grew up on a PlayStation. So I will probably be more inclined to get the PlayStation 5, just because I already have the PlayStation 4. Someone gave it to me, so I just kind of will stay along that kind of like pathway. But I have a PC, and I feel like everything gets ported to PC anyways, so I might not even need a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series, whatever they decide to call it.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually play I'm from PlayStation 2, then obviously I transferred over to I had Sega Dreamcast and everything, but I went from Sega Dreamcast straight to Xbox 360, and then I just stayed with it. Now I bought both consoles, PlayStation and Xbox, but I played PlayStation a little, but not a lot. And then, but my kids, they both played PlayStation, so I'm kind of odd man out with them. So just it's been a wild year,
Mhm.
2020. I mean, the impact of COVID-19. I know I had some things going on personally, career-wise, before everything came about. How did it impact you?
Before COVID hit, I was the co-host for Cheddar Esports. It's, if you can think about, it was kind of like the everyone was calling it the modern G4, which was pretty interesting considering it had only been around for maybe a year and a couple months. But we were getting traction. We were getting a lot of like big name celebrities and big name talent. I had the privilege and honor to interview Markiplier, who's a huge video game YouTuber. I'm a huge fan of his as well. So we got a chance to interview him. We interviewed like Nate Robinson, Stevie J. Like, we were able to interview so many amazing people in and outside of gaming. And it was probably one of the hardest things to find out, that when COVID hit the city or the whole world, they had to shut down Cheddar. They could not be able to port it digitally. And so I was out of a job immediately after the impact of COVID. And, you know, without a job, and a lot of the things that I had planned for April and May just kind of fell to the wayside. I was supposed to be a part of a lot of big projects. I can't really talk about it, but I was going to be a part of a big major TV show. And unfortunately, it's been postponed indefinitely. And it was hard because, you know, having to prepare for a lot of these big things and that were going to help me obviously continue with my career, and having them kind of just put to the wayside, it really forced me to have to reconsider what I was going to do with my time. So for the first 2 months, I did the best I could to socially distance and to stay home. And I did, at the time I wasn't streaming, and then I decided to pick up streaming because I had to deal with social distancing because I was having social anxiety. The opposite, like I was craving social. It was like, hey, be my friend, talk to me. And it was getting to the point that I really needed to talk to somebody, otherwise I was gonna go crazy. So I started streaming a lot more, and I ended up streaming and producing more content on my own. And that was how 368 and HyperX reached out to me, thankfully through Greenlit, and I was able to create content from home. And it's been my my full-time job right now is to be a content creator, creating video games. But it's been tricky. I would say I would not be here without them. You know, I'm so grateful for HyperX and 368 for allowing me the ability to continue pursuing this career in being a content creator for video games. But I know that the impact of COVID continues on. Like, we still cannot go to cons. You know, TwitchCon was canceled, E3 was canceled. A lot of the things we know near and dear, we're not able to be able to partake. And the effects of COVID have even affected manufacturing, like consoles. So for example, the Nintendo Switch has been perpetually out of stock, which has really been a bummer for me because Paper Mario came out and I was like, how am I going to play this game? I don't want to stream it. But thankfully I was able to get one from 368. But it's been tough, but I've been managing to take it day by day. And I do this thing now on my streams where I do a mental check for everybody within the stream, within my social accounts. I just check that everyone's mentally okay, because, during this time, there are a lot of people that are losing their homes, that are losing their jobs, that are losing loved ones. I lost my uncle and a former coworker to COVID, and it's been very difficult, to be able to continue to hold your head high when you don't have a job, you don't know what tomorrow will bring, and you're nervous and you're at loss. And what I say to anybody that's listening to this is reach out. If you want to reach out to me, if you want to reach out to a friend, if you want to reach out to just anybody, just don't fester in your own darkness. The worst thing right now is to happen is for you to be alone and feel hopeless. I think there's a Chinese proverb that the word crisis in the Chinese, I guess, characters, the character opportunity is inside the word crisis in Chinese. So within every crisis, there is actually opportunity in the Chinese language. So think of this as a chance to, maybe find the time to read a book, or maybe find a time to do that project you've been putting on hold, or maybe find that time to, marathon your favorite Star Trek series all over again now that Picard and Discovery are out, or maybe find the time to follow your dreams. Whatever they may be, you have the opportunity to do now, but don't sulk. Don't be alone. Right now, more than ever, everyone is unified in a cause, and that cause is to keep everyone safe and healthy and happy. No matter what it is, we're going to all take it one day at a time.
Well put. Well put. Something that was different for me, I'm from Ohio. I work in New York, but the protests and the Black Lives Matter. I won't call it a movement. I mean, we black and brown every day, so it's definitely something that we have to deal with on a regular basis. But your thoughts on actual being in New York and seeing a lot of the protests that were going on. What were your thoughts on it, and did you get out and actually protest or anything like that?
So it's pretty interesting. I was in Hong Kong last year in October, November for the Hong Kong protests. So it's really almost surreal having been in Hong Kong during the protests, seeing how feverish some of the protesters were. We're talking about kids as young as 14, 15 years old fighting for their democratic rights. If you don't know what's going on in Hong Kong right now, the entire city-state is being transformed into a communist regime. And a lot of the citizens are up in arms because they want to be able to elect their politicians into whom are going to be making the laws for their city. And it's been a really uphill battle for them because they're constantly fed with opposition, and they've been able to fight back in really creative and unique tactics. And at the time I was like, this is surreal, like this country is fighting for democracy, and then fast forward 5 months later and we are now in that same situation. I've been doing the very best I can to support Black Lives Matter. I've been very vocal about it, all my social accounts. Every single time someone has mentioned it, especially and it all starts with the household too. It all starts at the household. You have to start talking to your family, to your brothers, to your sisters, to your cousins, to your aunts, to your uncles, to your moms and your dads. And you have to explain to them the importance of Black Lives Matter. If we don't start from our homes, it's not going to be able to actually make a change. Yes, we can go onto the streets, but it really has to do with putting people in their place when they have a very negative and a distorted view about what Black Lives Matter is about. And I know that a lot of people are out there saying, well, there are people who are using Black Lives Matter for their own benefit or for their own agenda. And it's like, yes, but that doesn't change the fact that this is about human rights. This is about equality. This is about something that we've been fighting this for centuries. And the fact that it's been perpetuatingly a topic of adversity means that there are people that still don't understand the movement to this day. They still don't understand that this is about human rights, this is about equality, and this is about correcting something that has been wrong for so long. And for myself, because I'm at risk, I'm an at risk because I have a very low immune system. So for me, I'm not allowed to go outside to be able to protest, but I've been donating. I always check up on my friends. I've been sending food packages. Obviously, it's been very difficult, but there are other ways that you can support BLM. You don't have to protest. There are so many resources that are out there. You can be more aggressive to your politicians. You can start writing letters. You can start calling and demanding change. It always starts with at home and then trying to expand from the home and getting people to start actively, literally harassing your politicians to adhere to guidelines that are going to protect the sanctity of humans right now. And this is happening in every single state, not just New York City, but every single state across the country. And it's really surprising where we're having a president that says that this is a diabolical movement, but then we have people globally who are supporting it. So obviously there's a matter of correcting a perception of what the actual action of Black Lives Matter is, what we're trying to do. And I think it's just, again, it's about education. I think it's so important that we start educating our families. We start rewriting some of the history books, what they're saying. Like Tulsa what happened in Tulsa, it's really funny because when Watchmen came out with Tulsa, Watchmen is a show on Netflix right now. When they talked about what happened in Tulsa, people were mind blown. Like, this actually happened in Tulsa. There was a prominent Black community with black professors. There were like Black teachers, and they had politicians, and it was a whole Black community of Black excellence in Tulsa. And it was completely burned to the ground thousands were butchered and nobody knew about it. I think it's time that we start thinking about educating not only our children, ourselves, and our family members so that we can instill change and hopefully start putting action on our politicians to be able to perform, and we expect more for them. I think we need to start raising the bar to the people who are in power, that we put in power. That's the thing. We put them in power, so we have the power to change that. And we just got to tighten the leash and say, hey, if you're not for this, you are against it, and I will not support you in the next election. And we have to be very keen on that. We have power with our purchasing power. We have power with our voting power, and we cannot forget that, because this country was based on democracy and nothing else.
Man, properly put. I'm being more enlightened every interview, and I love it. Speaking on the fact, you said you had a weak immune system. I know you recently celebrated a birthday, and it's a different time. How people are used to celebrating and different things like that. I mean, how what was that like going through, celebrating a birthday with everything that's going on?
It was honestly, oh my God, I feel like this is like the new world, because this is not necessarily like our old world, but in the old world, we used to go out. We used to have barbecues. I know that for my birthday, I would always have a barbecue, go to the pool, go to the beach. And that has not been an opportunity for me. That's a luxury now. I've been in my apartment for 5 months now consecutively. The only place that I've actually gone outside to has been the supermarket, and occasionally the doctor, just to like make sure that I'm okay. I have phase 1 arthritis in my spine, so I have to be very careful about my posture, which is why I wear waist wrap, because it's very painful for me. And it was hard celebrating it alone, I guess you can say. And I think, my sisters came over and, we had a nice little dinner here, but it was an opportunity for me to self-reflect. It was an opportunity for me to yes, I'm leveling up one more year. Like, that's a level up for me, but I wanted to make it so much more meaningful. So I took the time to just meditate and to center myself right before midnight of my birthday. And I'm not necessarily like religious, but I am spiritual or esoteric. And so I asked the universe, like, prepare me for what's to come, allow me to level up mind, body, and soul so that I could be a role model. I can be a vision of the future. And anyone that's out there that wants to do the same, like, we all have to turn internally. And I feel like this opportunity with COVID is something that we should take advantage of. We take advantage of this opportunity right now while you still have it, and try to become better in what you want to be in the future. Vision yourself where you want to see at the end of this year and fight for it. Go straight towards it. And now is the time more than ever, because now we're home and we have that opportunity to do it. So even though I celebrated the birthday at home, I thought of it again as a chance to center myself, center my mind, and ask myself the questions that I've always been curious about. Who am I? What am I? What do I want to do with my future? Where does Narz see herself at the end of this year? Completely not even thinking about COVID, but where I want to see myself. And I said, I want to be an instrument of good. I want to be an instrument for change. And the universe was like, okay, be prepared.
Gotcha. Just jumping into a lot of the content series that you're doing right now. Of course, I mentioned in the intro about the good game reviews with 36. Is it 368 NYC or just 368 NYC or?
Yeah, so Casey Neistat, he's a big YouTuber. He started a gaming studio called 368. It's called 368 because the actual address is 368 Broadway. Right. So he started a gaming studio. It's a studio where any sort of YouTubers or content creators can create any sort of like IP or series. And so I started myself, Holly Peppermint, Zoom Girl, and Marissa, whom all work for 368, started GG Reviews with Holly Peppermint. We review games on a weekly basis. We just finished Paper Mario. We've done Ghost of Tsushima. We've done Resident Evil 2 remake. We've done Final Fantasy, and it's a great opportunity for you to get like an analytical, detailed view about popular AAA games as well as indie games. We covered like Deceit. We're going to be covering Rogue Company very soon, and so I've been I'm greatly honored to be a part of this, because shortly after Cheddar Esports closed, I was hungry for another series to sink my teeth into. So GG Reviews with Holly Peppermint is every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/368NYC. And then I host HyperX's Good Game, which is a series on highlighting positive things happening in the world of video games. We've been talking about how Minecraft is being used to help connect people across the world. 1000 Funds Dream allows anyone who is looking to be a content creator or streamer have the resources and equipment to pursue those visions and dreams. And we just wrapped up episode 5, which talks about gamers.vote, which is a live streaming resource tool where you can have alerts and resources for any gamers that are looking to enlighten their viewers about who they can elect and vote in the 2020 election, and how to be able to have us gamers have our voices heard at the polls.
Okay. And, you know, y'all see you did Comic-Con at home.
Yes, I did.
I tuned in a little. Anything you do, I'm a big fan. So anything you do, I at least try to tune in when I don't have a lot going on. You're somebody that I tune into, so I've seen a little bit of that. But talk about that for a second.
So this is the first year that San Diego Comic-Con, which is a huge convention that happens in San Diego, California. Comic-Con is pretty much where you find out about all the Marvel movies coming out, all the X-Men movies, or like anything comic book related, Star Trek related, anywhere in the universe of geek and comic and anime and manga are released. And this year is the first time that San Diego has gone virtual. So the entire weekend from Thursday to Sunday was all virtual. Most of the panels were either done on YouTube or on Twitch. I hosted the official San Diego Comic-Con live stream at twitch.tv/comic_con. We've had a ton of special guests that were on there as well. Wow. It's just like I'm thinking about it. It's like a lot of like Marvel movies were released. The New Mutants is coming out August 28th, hopefully, crossing fingers, with the lovely Maisie Williams, who played Arya Stark in Game of Thrones. Lower Decks is a new animated series from the Star Trek universe, which actually is produced by a former producer executive for Rick and Morty. And it takes the Star Trek universe in a hilarious kind of like spin where you follow the story of pretty much all the members of the USS Cerritos, who are lower deck members, and kind of like what their lives are like being not necessarily the captain of the ship, but kind of like being the minions or understudies of this ship. And then we were able to talk about different games that were coming out, the Wild West tactics games from the feud that was also talked about. It was really a lot. It was intense. It was like 10 hours every day of just like bombardment of comic and manga and gaming related news releases consecutively, watching panels. It was an honor. My co-host was Emery Pan, who is a Twitch affiliate streamer as well. It was produced by Greenlit, who is an amazing company under Rect Global, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to just geek out, and to be the host of it was something that like I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be able to do. Like if you would have told me like at the beginning of this year you're going to be hosting San Diego Comic-Con, I'd be like, get out of here. They're going to pick somebody like more qualified for that, and lo and behold, I guess I was qualified for it. So it was absolutely fun. I would do it again, but probably not in person. And that's another thing. I would never do San Diego Comic-Con in person. I would always do it live stream. So it was. Why do you say
that?
I'm terrified of large audiences.
Oh, I would have never thought.
I'm actually terrified of large audiences. I get stage fright very easily. But when I'm in front of a camera or live streaming, it just comes out so much more naturally, and my personality blossoms a lot more. So maybe if they were to do it at like an actual like convention, they would probably have to put me in a box at the con floor and just have a live stream sending out to everybody else. But yeah, it was amazing.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
I've seen you got a chance to the team back up with your duo, Aaron Ashley Simon, with Game Hers. I like that. I like watching you two on Cheddar too. I actually had that on channel on my Fire Stick, so I stayed in tune and watched it every time because it was more than just gaming. It was gaming related, but it had a lot of different people on it, like you mentioned. Talk about Game Hers and what it was like teaming back up with Aaron.
So the Game Hers, this was a new kind of project for me. I directed, produced, and scripted the entire series. When they had approached me, the Game Hers, about creating this series, I was like, absolutely, I would love to do this. I've been wanting to do kind of like a how-to stream on Twitch series to get people up and up and started on like how to stream to Twitch from like the ground up. So we talk about OBS, we talk about slobs, we talk about panels, we talk about how to set up your stream deck, and not your stream deck, your scenes and overlays. And the idea is that anybody can be able to start right away. And when they asked me, oh, who would you like to co-host, I was like, Erin Ashley Simon, she would be great for this. And Erin said, yeah, sure, absolutely. And so it was just like something that was just like it was just dynamic. It was like a match made in heaven. It was like perfect. And so we started scripting and I guess piloting it back in May or April. And we're just about wrapped up with the last episode. So the first 2 episodes are already out, if you guys want to go watch it. And we pretty much cover everything from bots to scene overlays to panels to extensions and what to do, what recommended bit rates and video rates for your audio and for your video, which is super important. And we have a community that now is like, reaching out saying, hey, this has been super important to me. I've always wanted to do streaming, but I'm a mom of 2 and, I've been wanting to help them get into streaming. I just didn't know how to do it. And this has been super helpful. And then we have people who are like, I'm a veteran in streaming, and even I learned a few tricks or 2 from your series. And the idea is that this series is to help beginners to like advanced people just kind of be able to do what they love and focus on creating content and less about how to make that possible. And I'm so glad that Erin, and I were able to team up again for that. And I know that Erin's moving on to bigger and better things. She's now on Ven, and I'm so proud of her for that. But being able to do this with her was absolutely amazing.
I know it's a lot of women making waves in the gaming industry, and just right now, just speaking out in general, and always active in the trenches of trying to create change. So you two, I always Erin has inspired me a ton. I can't even, I met her. We built a nice relationship, and I reach out to her any and every time. I mean, I hit you up here and there, especially when I see on IG, you always have good things going on and different things like that. So I'm proud. I'm proud of you both, and y'all keep inspiring me to do things. I like how you mentioned during the pandemic is that this is a moment to actually basically get off your butt and do some things that you've been thinking about doing, that you've been procrastinating or for whatever reason. And even when I started this podcast, that was one of the things that I've been wanting to do. And I was kind of just messing around. And even now, I like the Game Hers because me personally, I've been classified an old head in my community. And then learning more about streaming and learning more about technology, period, is a benefit because that's the way of the world right now. And I definitely have learned a ton over these last 3 to 4 months. And I'm grateful for a lot of different shows and a lot of different programs that have educated me. So I think it's pretty dope. TikTok. I just wanted to get your thoughts before we wrap up. Trump made his comments about TikTok. I've seen it's a lot of different political views and different things like that involved. But what are your thoughts on it?
It's hard because, the argument that Trump wants to make about banning TikTok is that TikTok takes some of your information from your phone and, some of the data from your phone and location and whatnot. And, we can say the same thing for Facebook. We can say the same thing for Instagram. We can say the same thing for Google. All of these companies also take the same data that TikTok is taking. So ultimately, what is really the case with this? Why is TikTok considered something that's completely taboo, or that they're on the encroach to ban it? And I think it's literally because TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. And ultimately, the politicians or the American government does not have access to that data. Another country does. So because of that, they feel it's like kind of their data is in jeopardy. So they want to have ownership of that data. And unless they have ownership of that data, they're not going to be able to leverage that data to do what they want to do. Because with Facebook, they've been doing perfectly well. You see a lot of politicians using Facebook as a medium to be able to manipulate, coerce, and to spread different propaganda to a lot of people who use that platform. And so I think TikTok is just considered something that they want to ban or come to an end, but they're trying to force Microsoft to purchase the app. I don't know if the owners are going to let that push through, but ultimately I think we have to understand that we live in a day and age where our data is what we submit in order to gain access to some of these platforms for free. And if we consider that and we understand that, and we don't necessarily point and criticize or judgment other people for using a platform, I think we can come to an understanding that everyone kind of does the same thing. Everyone submits their information somewhere. It's just a matter of what your preferences are. And so we see that TikTok has been used as a vehicle for unification, especially when it comes to Gen Zs. We saw that with the Trump rally, where TikTok was used as a medium to get Gen Zs to sign up for the Trump rally. And inevitably that hurt him very much because they had so many people that were registered to come. And when it came down to showing up, the entire stadium was like predominantly empty. And that infuriated Trump because he was only afterwards that he realized that TikTok was the platform that was used in order to make him look ridiculous. And so obviously when you're really angry about, something like that, when we're hoping for a large, outcome to your rally, and then you find out that it was sabotaged by Gen Zs using a platform called TikTok. Well, you got to ask yourself then, okay, so if this isn't about, a company that is from China, but more about the data being available not to the American politicians or to the American government, but to a different government, and that it was used as a medium to sabotage your Trump rally, then is it kind of more of a vendetta? Like, are you just going after the platform because you're after revenge, or this is more malicious, or this is more individual or personal? And at the end of the day, I don't think TikTok's going to come to an end. I think people are going to find ways, and there are ways to circumvent the ban. You can literally get a VPN that is ported from another country like England and still access TikTok from America. So do I see TikTok coming to an end? Absolutely not. I think Gen Zs are smart enough to either find another platform to continue their mischievousness, or they're going to just find other ways to use TikTok. And I don't think there's anything wrong with TikTok. Yeah, it takes data, but so does every other platform that's out there. And, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to continue to use TikTok. I find TikTok fun. I have been educated through TikTok more than any other app. I've been connecting with other book readers. And so like my book library has expanded. I'm currently reading this book called Power and Force, which is talking about the levels of consciousness and how to augment your conscious to be more better aware and self-conscious and reach self-actualization. And I don't think I would have not known about those books had it not been for TikTok. So do I think TikTok is bad? Absolutely not. I think TikTok is just as bad as every other platform that's out there that's taking your data. But is it coming to an end? I don't think so. I think Byte is being very particular about who they work with. And even if America bans TikTok, like China bans Facebook, there are other ways to circumvent it. So it's not coming to an end. We're just going to be having to jump through holes and hoops to be able to access it. That's it.
Agreed. So what's the next for Narz? I mean, you got a lot going on right now. I'm sure you're seeking a lot of other opportunities as well, but what's next?
Well, I currently right now I'm going to be I'm going to be a panel moderator for Play NYC. Play NYC is now a digital convention. It normally happens every year in New York City around the August time. So it's happening next week, and I'm going to be moderating a panel for streamers. Aaron Ashley Simon will be on it, as well as Holly Peppermint, my co-host, and Quanticus, as well as Aphrodite. And we're going to be talking about streaming, how to be able to jumpstart your own stream, some of the trials and tribulations some of these streamers have had to overcome in order to be where they are. Quanticus is a former Mixer partner, now Twitch partner, so it would be a good perspective about those who are Mixer partners or Mixer streamers trying to get on Twitch. Aaron is more of a content creator streamer, as well as Holly Pepperman, and Aphrodite, I call her Siren, is a aspiring pro player as well as a League of Legends platinum player who does training and teaching about League of Legends. So it's going to be an interesting panel that I have coming up next week. Every Wednesday, I do 368 GG reviews with Holly Peppermint. The next game we're going to be reviewing is Fall Guys, which is a super popular game on Twitch. It's really, really fun. It's kind of like a battle royale gang beast game. I say gang beast, but I think it's called something else. But we're going to be also be reviewing Royal Company and Grounded in the next couple weeks. So we have a lot of reviews to look forward to. And that's pretty much it. I do have another HyperX episode coming up. Episode 5, I think, comes out in 2 weeks. So I'm crossing fingers that that's sooner. So you guys can go check that all out on my Instagram and my Twitter. You can find me at Narz, N-A-R-Z. That's me. Or you can find me at twitch.tv/Narz with 4Z. So it's literally N-A-R-Z, Z-Z-Z-Z. Hopefully one day I'll fix that. I'm harassing Twitch to give me that 1Z. I'm looking to get twitch.tv/Narz, but I feel like I have to get verified somewhere to be able to make that possible. So we'll see.
When you wrap that up, that was my next question, is let people know how they can get in touch with you. But this has been a beautiful interview. You're a great person, beautiful inside and out, smart and talented. And I definitely look forward to everything that you have going on. I advise everybody that's listening to do the same. Just at this time, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode of the OG2CENTS podcast. Make sure you follow the podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Follow me on social media at OG King CURT. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Shout out to my team, Dave at the 2K Zone, Strider Visuals, Cy Evermore, and Box Graphics. As well, make sure you can go to www.ogkingcurt.com. That's for everything OG King CURT and the podcast. Make sure you check out the 2K Zone shows, the 2K Zone Roundtable, every Sunday, 7:30 p.m. EST, and 2K Center Stage, that's every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Wednesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All shows stream live on Twitch, TV/2K Zone. Catch me on EsportsXTRA every Wednesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 1 p.m. That's with host Larry Ridley. The crew, Renee Montgomery, Antonio Williams, Derwin Roel, and Kevin Mamuzet. That's Compete Forever on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And we're bringing the sports and putting the sports in esports. Make sure you tune in next week's episode, and remember, if it makes sense, it's an OG2CENTS. OG out.
Put this work in, fellas. And much, much, much love to the entire 2K community for always showing me love. Without y'all, we wouldn't be here. Yeah.